Episode of the Dad La Soul Extra Time Show. I am one of the hosts, Dan Flanagan. I am joined, as always, by Ilkley's version of Tom Hardy. That's about true, isn't it, Jim?
It's been said before. Absolutely been said before. Yeah.
He's cooler than Tom Hardy. He's hotter than a ginger kid in a heat wave, and he's about as happy as a Scotsman in 10 minutes of extra time.
Oh, too soon. Too soon.
And he's bar tat as well. You better watch out.
I am bar tat.
Otherwise, the worms are going to be eating him in no time at all.
Exactly. I'm glad someone gets that reference.
I grew up on that song, mate.
If for people who don't know, Ilkley Moor Bar Tat is Yorkshire's national anthem.
It is, yeah.
And I can just about see Ilkley Moor if I just look round the corner from where I'm recording right now.
I've actually been on Ilkley Moor. The moors are some of the best in the world, actually. I love the moors.
Absolutely beautiful. But yes, there is a famous
But they will
song.
kill you.
They will kill you. So the song Ilkley Moor Bar Tat means Ilkley Moor without a hat. And the singers are basically saying, oh, where have you been since I last saw you? You've been courting Mary Jane on Ilkley Moor without a hat. Well, you'll catch you dying cold, and then the worms will eat you, and then the ducks will eat the worms, and then we'll eat the ducks. Yeah. And as you know, kind of anthems go, it's slightly morbid.
That is...
I was taught it as a nursery rhyme. That tells you a lot about my parents, right? Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, isn't that though? With most nursery rhymes, they're all about something dodgy. You know, Three Little Pigs or Ring a Ring of Roses. It's about the plague. Anyway, boys and girls at home, you might realise that Jim and I have got an interloper that's coming. I would say
just AI generated, so just pump it in and it comes.
Noel, if you were AI generated, we would have made you pretty, mate. Let's put it honest.
Yeah, well, it would tell you how far AI is generated. Not very is the answer.
Still room for manoeuvre, right?
There's still room for improvement.
We don't believe that. We are joined on today's episode by the man, the myth, the legend that is Noel McDermott. Noel McDonough?
Old McDonald. Old McDonald.
Isn't it?
Are you the cow? Go on, make a moo sound, Dan.
I'm trying to read and talk, which is never a good idea.
Multitasking, not Dan's big plus point, really.
Have you learned to read now or something? What, have you got a course? What is that? He had a sad childhood, you know. He got kicked out.
Yeah, it's funny enough, though, every month, though, when my invoice goes in, he pretends not to be able to.
Now, right, let me.
It's all coming out now. We've got Gambling Gate, and now we've got Dad La Soul at each other's throats. That's it. Everything's falling apart.
It's shocking, isn't it? No, tell the boys and girls at home what you do and why you're here.
So I qualified as a drama therapist. So I'm also a psychotherapist about 30 years ago, and it's on that basis that I'm here. I own a mental health company which provides complex case care and coordinates care for people with complex long-term needs. I have a background in men's and fathers' work up in Scotland. You can imagine how much fun that was. That was 30 years ago in Scotland, doing father's work. Whee! That was interesting. So I've got a special interest in this area, working with dads and men. But I'm a CEO of a company, and I sort of employ a bunch of people to provide mental health services. That's me. Is that enough?
Yeah, you have people that do for you now, don't you? You just sit on this sort of like silver or gold throne and just.
You know, it's hard work coordinating, Dan. I mean, it's exhausting, you know.
Yeah.
So.
You order them, your minions, sort of there and there.
I don't even have to do that. They're so good at their job. If I try and do that, they're like, "Well, you don't think I know what I'm doing?" They actually know. They know how to do it better than me, to be honest.
Isn't that the line, though? Yeah, with every role, you should look to be able to replace yourself or train your replacement.
I'm never the smartest person in the room, although today might be.
Well, you
one
know,
exception.
Make an exception for everything, right?
He
Yeah.
gets in there early. You gave me permission before it started. You said just get stuck in.
Yes. That's
what did you want?
I mean, you know, Noel is a long-term also supporter of Dad La Soul.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've had us
Who
both.
recently passed away. Right,
that's right. Yeah. Until this AI version of me turned up, it used to be quite helpful.
You made me blush. Anyway,
that's quite difficult with you, Dan. I mean, it's like Given what you've done in your life and you are making you blush is quite impressive.
You checked the browser history, haven't you? Right. Moving on.
Clear the cache, boy. Clear the cache. That's what they say.
Jim.
Yeah.
Tell the boys and girls at home what you've been up to.
It seems like in the 2 weeks since we were last on this broadcast, I've basically just spent my time at Sports Day. That's what I've been doing. Sports Day, it lasts so long.
Can you compete?
Doesn't it? It's Sports Month.
Sports Month. When you've got children in 2 different key stages as well. Yeah. So they do a key stage one in the morning, and they do a key stage 2 in the afternoon. And you're thinking, I need to get some work done. Yeah. Like, I'm not taking a full day off for Sports Day, but I'm trying to get 6 hours work done in the 3 hours that you've given me without having a lunch break.
That's
and
right.
It was the one day of the year in Yorkshire where it was absolutely boiling as well. So standing out.
One day in the last decade, mate.
Yeah. Well,
like, seriously.
We are not equipped for that.
No. It's like, what's that bright thing up there? Ah!
Yeah, and that really distracted from the racing as well while people were looking around in confusion. But yeah, 3 or 4 hours standing out on those fields, that's not what I needed to be doing.
Did you compete? Because I've got this vision of you turning up as like one of the 118 men.
That's what it looks like. It really does.
The thing is, I'd have loved it.
He's absolutely the spit of them.
I would have loved to have done that, but it would have made it longer. It was already quite a long process. To see my children run in 2 races and then do a few other activities, it was really like a 4 or 5 hour commitment. A parent's race would have been fun, but also it would have just been a longer time at school, which is not what I need.
Do they still do the egg and spoon? Is that still?
There was a little egg and spoon thing going on. Yeah, there was some interesting balance.
I see some traditions are being upheld.
Yeah, and the tradition of people holding the egg onto the spoon with their thumb, that's been upheld as well.
Somebody's got resentment.
Yeah, well, my son was cheated, but it doesn't matter.
That's right. Not that you're competitive at all, Jim.
Oh, God, no.
This is turning into therapy, isn't it?
Yeah, I told you. I'm like, the bill currently is.
At my son's primary school, actually, they had to cancel the parents' races because a couple of the mums got a bit too competitive with flying elbows. I can't call it was either a nose got broken or a rib got broken.
No.
Yeah, proper.
It turned into the local MMA final.
Yeah, well, keep with the times, right? Then that's what we want to see nowadays.
Yeah.
We're desensitized. We're desensitized to just boring.
No, we meant cage fighting, didn't we tell you?
Wouldn't that be good though? We could do MMA, but it would be mums.
Have you seen that thing in America they do with Sports Day where they do the American football? I don't know why they call it football. They don't use their feet, and pick it up and throw it. It's like American rugby, right? But anyway, that day when you get to take your mum out, and mums turn up dressed up in the football gear, and the boys, their kids, have to try and knock them over,
knock them down. No,
have you seen that?
No.
Have you not seen it? It's brilliant.
I'm so intrigued by this.
None of the boys win, but their mums just slaughter them generally. I'm sure 1 or 2 of the mums lose, but like the ones that they show you, the mums just really paste them.
It's a good way to get your aggression out, though, isn't it? After 5 hours on a hot field, right? Yeah. I'm going to take you down.
But some of these lads, they're 6'8", they're units. So, a lot of the mums are bouncing off them as well.
Yeah. It's hilarious stuff.
Can overfeed them. Yeah. So, Sports Day, did you come back with a certificate or a badge or a medal? What adorns your wall at home now, Jim?
They've got a couple of stickers. So they'd given. This is actually quite a responsibility that they'd given to the Year 6 kids. Yeah. Is that they had to stand there with the stickers and work out who'd come first, second, third, or fourth, without the aid of photo finish technology.
No VAR.
No VAR in this at all. That once again would have taken it to another few hours while they made those decisions. So, yeah.
But at least the European Court of Human Rights. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'm thinking there may be
quickly before we leave.
There may be a few cases being escalated there now. I'm not sure. In my children's races, it was fairly obvious who came where, but there were some where it was very close. I was like, I wouldn't like to be making that decision. And I like
definite Article 8.
The teachers had palmed it off on some year 6 children to make the decision.
Really.
So yeah, we've got some stickers. We've got some stickers that are on the wall. My son seems to have lost his 3rd place sticker, just got his 1st place sticker on there. But you know, I'm sure there's nothing to be.
He's nothing like his dad, then.
No, not at all.
And yeah, this is terrible, isn't it?
Let's get rid of that one.
I didn't realise I was competitive until I came on this. Oh my goodness!
No, I'm really good at this job. I do.
Yeah.
I can just spot it. Like 2 sentences, and I've got you nailed, mate.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I'm not competitive at all.
No, because you've got no skills, so you've just accepted your reality of yourself, right?
Right, movies. I'm gonna need therapy after this. Is like being bashed, isn't it?
So this is my basic marketing technique. I destroy your ego, and then I offer you a service.
You create demand.
That's
what it's
right.
about, isn't it?
It's getting a bit thin on the ground. You know what I mean? So I've got to create a few casualties.
Yeah, fair play.
Well, I haven't done sports day, right? But I have done parents' evening recently. Yeah. So my son's in his 1st year of high school. It's a completely different change. Normally, as you'll be aware, you nip to primary school, see the one teacher, takes 10 minutes, you're in and out. This one took there was 8 different teachers.
Oh my God.
8 different rooms. And you had to negotiate, you had 5-minute slots. So you literally get on there, the list of the teachers, you have to try and book your spaces, and then realising between that subject and that subject, there's probably like a 40-minute wait. The football was on at the same time, so we were able to watch that. But it was, I found out my son is a massive brown noser. Right, because he just kept getting.
He's handing that one to me on a plate, isn't he?
Yeah,
I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to say it's too easy, Dan.
No. He's obviously I'll put him up for adoption. He's nothing like me, but yeah, it was so long and complicated. But also, I think it's because the school's got 2,000 kids in.
Yeah.
So you know, it's unlike anything I've ever been to before. But I was going to say, my experience of parents' evenings, right? They were probably a lot gentler, and they would tell you more stuff about the kids. Now it seems to be he's got a 1 or 2 and stuff. It all just seems to be quite automated and impersonal.
Yeah. Data, big data. That's what it is.
It was big data. He was being ruled by 1s and 2s.
Sponsored by Meta.
Yeah, it was crazy. But he was, he did very well, and I was very proud of him. So not that he ever listens to this show, but, I'd use it as bargaining tool for pocket money.
Put it out there. Well, that's a good idea. That sounds like...
The money he gives you.
I'd not really considered how it was going to be different when my children go to secondary school. But yeah, you've got all those different teachers. It sounds like speed dating.
Literally, it was. And so the tying up of the different subjects in the different buildings, thinking you've got to hang around, and then you just got to try and make polite conversation with some of the other parents. I did recognise some of the parents from the afternoon raves I used to put on.
Yeah,
that was very nice. And now seeing their little ones, 6 foot tall with bum fluff and very deep voices, thinking,
right,
now I feel very, very old.
Yeah,
little ones aren't little ones no more.
It's sad though not to have a bit of time to just chat and get to know them, I guess.
But it's too many.
Is it?
Oh yeah, it is. And also they're just at the end of this, what I would call the 1st year. So it's going to be a range of new teachers coming up anyway. So
is it? Right.
I don't want to be best of friends with them. I ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
I'm too busy being a trophy husband.
That's right. Absolutely. So what's that 3rd place trophy?
It's not that 3rd place.
It's the auto windscreens trophy, right?
It's the auto windscreens trophy.
Apart from bashing me, Noel, what have you been up to?
Let's see, what have we doing? Getting on with life, building my business a little bit, which has been good.
Yeah.
Focusing a lot on health and well-being, my health and well-being, because I went through a period of being a bit low again. So I got some treatment for that and coming out.
Question for you then. Physician, heal thyself.
Yeah.
Are you able to recognise the signs?
Yeah, I mean, I am, but it's not what I rely on. I think one of the things I do is I've recruited friends on the basis that I indoctrinate them into my emotional needs. That's way into my circle.
Yeah.
And so what tends to happen is my mates call me out if I seem a bit odd.
So they're like those
odder than usual.
Those support dogs that you have for for people who've got certain illnesses, and like when they're going to have like a diabetic attack, the dog will start barking.
Yeah,
so
that's my friendship network.
That's your friendship circle. Yeah, okay, good news.
All my mates bark.
and then
they come up with their paws on me.
Yeah, and then they sniff each other's bums. So.
Yeah, as long as you're not shagging your leg, you're fine, aren't you?
There's a range of signals, Dan. I mean, they all mean something. Do you know what I mean? All behaviour is communication, Dan. All right?
It's up close and personal. Shall, on that terrible note, should we have a little musical interlude?
Okay.
And we can move on to some more sort of topical,
something semi-serious.
We can move on. We can just
move on. For God's sake, move on.
That's it. Right, whose song are we going to have? Should we have Noel's song first? Because
Noel's,
guest
criticize his taste in music.
Got to get your own back somehow.
What have you chosen, Noel?
I've chosen Kooks from Hunky Dory, David Bowie, one of the, I think, all-time great, almost one could argue, probably the most perfect album ever produced, I think. It's arguable. Some other people might, but I think that it's impossible to find a track on that album which is bad, without a doubt. And it stormed into my consciousness when I was a teen. Absolute sort of straight in.
All right, well, let's have a listen to Kooks then.
Will you stay in our lover's story? If you stay, you won't be sorry, 'cause we believe in you. Soon you'll grow, so take a chance with a couple of kooks hung up on romancing. Will you stay in our lover's story? If you stay, you won't be sorry, 'cause we believe in you. Soon you'll grow, so take a chance with a couple of kooks hung up on romancing. We bought a lot of things to keep you warm and dry, and a funny old crib on which the paint won't dry. I bought you a pair of shoes, a trumpet you can blow, and a book of rules of what to say to people when they pick on you. 'Cause if you stay with us, you're gonna be pretty cookie too. Will you stay in our lover's story? If you stay, you won't be sorry, 'cause we believe in you. Soon you'll grow, so take a chance with a couple of kooks hung up on romancing. And if you ever have to go to school, remember how they messed up this old fool. Don't pick fights with the bullies or the cats, 'cause I'm not much cop at punching other people's dads. And if the homework brings you down, then we'll throw it on the fire and take the car downtown. Will you stay in our lover's story? If you stay, you won't be sorry, 'cause we believe in you. Soon you'll grow, so take a chance with a couple of kooks hung up on romancing. Will you stay in our lover's story? If you stay, you won't be sorry, 'cause we believe in you. Soon you'll grow, so take a chance with a couple of kooks hung up on romancing.
So two things that just came to mind.
Yeah.
One is we need to sample that because it's got a lyric. I'm not very good at punching other people's dads.
Yeah.
I just think I'm having
It's
that.
a class line, isn't it? It really
Yeah.
is.
And then there was a few years ago, I think it was even just during lockdown, I was homeschooling my lad, and I gave him this question. I've got a big David Bowie print in my front room, and I said, okay, research 10 things about David Bowie and you can have some extra screen time. And all right, 30 seconds later, he came back. Right? My idea is, check out my albums and a range of different sources. No, he just stuck into Google 10 things about David Bowie.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Love it.
Right,
Love it. That's it.
Yeah.
It's an efficient process.
He's going to go
done.
far.
Yeah. Right, boy. But yeah. So thank you. Is that a special song for you, Noel?
It just struck me at the time. I remember it's always stayed with me as an anthem, I think.
Yeah.
Something around gentleness and kindness. Obviously, it's a story about someone becoming a dad for the first time, having a baby with their partner, and then all that stuff you do about thinking about the future. And often people can go into anxiety, but I quite like the sort of message of the lyrics. It's really interesting power dynamic. It's like a sort of ownership of children is a strange concept. We don't really own children. And there's those lines in it that say, and if you decide to hang around, you're probably going to become a bit like us. But it's about the kid deciding. Sort of and thinking about that voluntary arrangement, that, where you can respect each other. So that strikes me. And also, he doesn't get particularly anxious about the future, but is accepting as a dad, as a parent, that you're going to be a bit like me, and if you are a bit like me, we'll just go and have a bit of fun and love together, and we're going to deal with things together. And that whole sort of feel to it, of relax about it, is something that really I find attractive, and also a positive message to give to new parents, I think, is just relax a little bit on this thing.
Kind of fitting as well, to say, whatever you want to do in the future. For instance, if you want to change your name from Zoe Bowie to Duncan Jones, then that's absolutely acceptable. And
yeah, absolutely.
And he did.
And he did.
Question for you then, Noel.
Yeah.
Are you able to actually just listen to music and enjoy it, or do you always find deeper levels in it?
That would presuppose that I don't find enjoyment in the deeper levels.
No, but I meant there is a level just, that's a nice tune. It makes me want to.
Am I always on a busman's holiday in life? Definitely not. Yeah. Definitely not. When I first trained, I have to say, I thought it was quite exciting when people would say to me in the bar, I don't go to bars now, I quit drinking many years ago, but when I still went to bars, I used to find it quite exciting, which was in the first few years after qualifying. Somebody came to me, I've never told anybody this before. I just go, does that make me amazing? And then I just got fed up of hearing that.
We're not charging them, are you? So
well, it's I'm not making any money out of it, and I'm in the bar, leave me alone. So I guess that's the thing about boundaries, isn't it? So do I switch off? Without a doubt, I switch off. And there is a sort of muscle that you have working clinically that is switched on when you're with somebody doing clinical work, but outside of that, not. Simply because I don't have a brilliant social life because I'm quite antisocial and horrible, but the minuscule
because we've already discovered.
That's right. My friends are actually stray dogs in the local park that come up and use me to pee on.
But that's a hell of a Wednesday evening, isn't it?
That's right. I know. It's like, woo, rock and roll, baby.
It is interesting that how people listen to songs or to music, because I've got a friend who he never takes any notice of the lyrics. Yeah. For him, it's just a tune. Even though it's got words, the vocal is an instrument, and it's not something they listen to. So I'll go, oh God, that song's a bit dark. And he's like, what? No, it's nice and chirpy. I'm like, well, there's some lyrics there that, like on Ilky More Bartat. And it's just how people listen differently and what you take from it, isn't it? It's fascinating. We all have a different perspective on things.
Yeah. And it's interesting if you listen to songs in France and Italy and stuff, often the lyrics, because we don't understand them, we don't realise that mostly the lyrics are nonsense. It's just sounds to go with the rhythm of the song. And
there's nothing I like better than you go to Greece on holiday and you get on a bus to get to your hotel or whatever, and they're playing some Greek music and you've got no idea what it's saying, but it just sounds right. It's just perfect.
Yeah.
There's some balalaika in there. That's all I wanted, really.
Yeah, absolutely. But coming back to that sort of point about, like, do you switch on, do you switch off? And also there's a broader point, I think, then, which is about, should mental health work be overly serious all the time? And I would argue not. That actually, mostly mental health work needs to be a lot lighter than we think of it, making a very serious point about it. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of guys don't access mental health services is because they're overly serious. And so they're coming in, and actually they're just coming in as guys, talking how they might talk with their mates and stuff like that, and then get embarrassed because it's not acceptable. And actually, if the mental health services are more tuned into that culture, they might be more effective. We might reduce some of these disastrous numbers that we get. 75% of suicides, deaths from suicide, rather, are men. And that's around the world, right?
Yeah, I think there's basically a lot to be said with the use of humour as well.
Really, without doubt.
Yeah, not to discount the seriousness, but we probably use humour too much as a defence mechanism when we feel uncomfortable. But I've been within our events, been party to some very heavy conversations, and just the right touch of humour at the right time, it just almost puts everybody at ease, rather than you can feel the tension, and then they'll just continue to open up rather than this is dark and scary and horrible. No, this is a topic of conversation. So conversations go like that. It's not just we're on the clinician's couch.
Yeah, I think no one likes being in a. If you were to be told you're going to go into a formal and strict and serious situation and then talk about something just in a tense manner, you wouldn't say you wanted to do that. So
exactly, exactly.
Kind of finding the approach, I guess, that works for each person, which I'm sure is, that's what you do, right? No,
yeah. I mean, it's all very much about, we don't have cookie cutters, hopefully, and that it's very individualized response. But thinking about it in another level. And this is maybe more about my profession. Well, my profession comes from an overly verbose and overly serious background, without a doubt. And it's gradually getting to... So the more sort of evidence-based approaches that exist now are less about that sort of serious, somber thing. It's more educational, it's more light, it's more about behavioral change, and it's more about information giving. It's practical. Whereas where it historically starts, and we were joking just before the show went on, people didn't see this, because Dan sometimes can joke. It's possible. He's a bit somber most of the time, but he made a sort of vaguely interesting joke before the show started. We should have caught it, really, but for posterity. It's like it's easy, isn't it?
Do I not bleed?
You gave me permission. I told you not to. I warned you, but would you listen? Nobody ever listens to me.
Boundaries.
That's what I used to punch people with, my boundaries. But you said that joke, like the classic joke, the classic thing or image that people have of therapy is, I'll just lie down and tell you about my mum, right?
Yeah.
We literally have that joke before the show, which is fine. And that is literally what people think, particularly guys. And I think guys are really put off by that image. Whereas modern therapy isn't like that at all, and nor should it be. And coming to the serious versus jokey bit, like there is a form of humor which you could call passive-aggressive communication. When somebody's actually quite pissed off, but they're not saying I'm pissed off. So they're using sort of humor as a way of putting somebody else down. Okay? Mm-hmm. And there are forms of humor like that. But most humor isn't like that. It isn't coming from a distressed or distressing or a place that wants to put somebody down. It is about the desire to feel lighter inside, right? Yeah. And it comes down to hormonal responses. So stress hormones, which are adrenaline and cortisol, these hormones are the major culprits in all ill health, to be honest. So it's like, and stress management is the core of life. And humor is generally the opposite of that. Okay. But the way humor gets interpreted, and I think this is a really important point when we're talking about men and mental health, is that there is a form of humor which is about power and control, and it is about male power and control over women, right? And there is ways that humor is used in those contexts, and you guys know it, you've been around blokes who will do that, which is quite dangerous and deadly. But the vast majority of guys I hang out with aren't like that. Mostly I weeded them out in my life. And we're actually using humor as a way of relaxing and reducing stress. And it's really healthy. And it's fundamentally a very healthy thing to be able to go away from the stress hormones into the reward hormones. And actually, one of the things that's maybe different between men and women in these senses is that one of the things that works well with men is this sort of mock battle leading to a greater capacity to bond. So in some treatment services, with young angry men, for example, you'll teach them things like Muay Thai, Muay Thai being a form of MMA, a sort of kickboxing thing. And you'll get the kids, these young men, fighting in an organized and structured way. And the elevation of the sort of hormones from fighting, the fight or flight stuff, allows them to then bond after that. And there are studies that show this, that post the fight, which is organized and safe and all that sort of stuff, they then want to go and hug and hold on to each other, and it's a bonding hormone. And you see that sort of behavior in sort of mock battles, like on the, you mentioned football, on the football grounds, on the terraces and stuff like that. It's this, yeah, kill, destroy, wow, which is very, very much about that men will do. And it can obviously go too far, but it's actually a very important part of how men might form emotional bonds with each other.
I saw something, it was actually a few months ago at one of our sessions. We had a lovely stand-up session with Aidan Goatley.
Yeah, right.
Our regular stand-up guy. And he was doing a work in progress show to stuff. And he did this routine, and he started talking about his tattoos, about why a middle-aged man would get tattoos. And then he goes, well, I got my tattoos to help cover my self-harming scars.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. And there was this like moment, and it just awkward. But actually what happened, it led to a really open conversation about self-harming and all of this other stuff that you wouldn't have thought. Like, let's get a stand-up comedian in there to tell a load of, blokes and jokes. And it was a really, nobody had formulated this as an approach, but it was a really interesting one. And I saw it really, firsthand, how the guys were talking about this, and they would start talking about their like eating disorders and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is 10, 20 blokes half an hour ago hadn't really known each other, but they're sharing this deep stuff in it. But if I'd said, right, guys, come over here and we're going to have an evening about eating disorders and cutting yourself, you're going to, that sounds horrible, mate. I'm out of here. So
I think that's exactly right. And it's also thinking about how men might access mental health services. So if I think about, there are various groups that offer sort of exercise and things like this as a way in. And there's research shows that, for example, in the treatment of depression, one of the most successful psychological approaches is dancing. Go figure. Okay. So exercise in general is really good as a primary treatment for depression, not as it's always been seen as a sort of adjunct treatment, if you like. So if you go and see a CBT therapist, they'll do what's called behavioral activation if you've got depression, or exposure work if you've got anxiety, right? Behavioral activation just means do stuff. Such a complicated way of saying get your ass in gear and go to walk in the park. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
why are men put off mental health services? Because we chat shit like behavioural activation at you. But exercise has always been part of CBT, that form of therapy. But now the new research is showing exercise is equally as good as the gold standard, which is CBT, and is easily better than medication. And CBT is better than medication at treating depression.
So the combination of like physical activity and talking therapy, as opposed to bottles
it
of
always used to be combined together, but now this new evidence, which is just recently produced, shows that exercise itself, in the broadest sense, so that's including walking, running, dancing, yoga, qigong, etc., in the broadest sense, exercise is on a par with psychological therapies.
You
as
can
a
see that.
standalone. And
You can
thinking
see
about
that,
how
though,
guys
because
might use that, and thinking about mental health services, how mental health services might use that. Coming back to this point of how you frame, how you market, if you like, the service is crucial as to whether somebody comes in the door or not. And the first thing that happens is you effectively, I think, on a lot of mental health services, you effectively say, don't come in if you're a bloke, you're just going to feel really fucking awkward. Sorry, I'm not allowed to swear, excuse me. You're just going to feel awkward. How much do I have to pay for that? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and when I was training, and then I'll shut up in a minute, I'll let you speak. Well, maybe I will, maybe I won't, who knows? I'm on a roll. I might just carry on for the next 20 days.
Fine by me.
I hope you brought some carbohydrates with you, just in case.
I've got a book.
Have you got a Yorkie somewhere? Have you? Right, he's got water. Look, he's already dying of thirst. That's anatomy water. But when I was training, which was like literally when dinosaurs are roaming the earth, we had anthropology professor as part of our training who looked at different cultures throughout time and history and across the world around their concepts of healing. He told us a very interesting story about an actual real live person who was a psychologist who worked in South America, and he had two doors. I mean, there's a culture that believed in sort of magical belief systems and stuff like that, and he had literally two doors leading into his office. On one, it said in the local dialect and language, witch doctor. On the other, it said psychologist. And that was just simply an illustration that the service is crucial. The service has to be delivered by somebody who knows what they're doing. But how it's packaged to get the people in the door that you want to come in the door has to really be thought about. And you can't hide behind these things. And you have to think about, well, who is my target audience? And then once you do that, you then start to deliver what are essentially the same services, but they're packaged in a way that brings, in this case, men in the door. And we know that the evidence is the most difficult thing with guys is to just get them in the door. Once they're in the door, you can't get them out for love nor money. You need a JCB at the end of the night. Do you know what I mean? Get out!
Yeah. No, it's fascinating, isn't it? It is. I guess it's, marketing's marketing. It's, it works in every other industry. Why shouldn't it be in this one as well?
But it's also why, for example, I'm really supported De La Soul and organisations like this, because I think what you do, which is really good, by accident, obviously not by design. I wouldn't suggest there's any talent or thought involved in any of this. What you stumbled onto accidentally.
This is true. This is. I take issue with the talent.
I actually remember it being true because I remember you in the early days.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying
that what you offer is something that will be interesting to guys, and then you package the other services into it.
Yeah.
And you package them in a way that isn't with a sledgehammer. Do you know what I mean? It's like, here, we're going to be important now. This is the important bit. And then you have these brilliant accidental things like you described, such as, well, we've booked a comedian, but now we're having a chat about eating disorders and self-harming.
Yeah.
It's like,
there is a lot by, accidental design.
Yeah.
So basically, you build the space, put on stuff that would make people feel comfortable and get them through the initial, coming through the front door, because that's scary.
Yeah.
I look at all the things, the areas where people could potentially have a barrier. Well, okay, can't afford it, but don't worry. Sort that. Don't drink. Don't worry. You can have a cup of tea. Don't like this. Don't worry about that. There's alternatives. So we remove all of those. You've just got to turn up, and then the conversations start. So we've got this goes out Tuesday. I think on Thursday we're doing a talk with our Brighton event. It's a magical charity called Emmaus, which support people that have been homeless. Right, and they've got this amazing. It's almost like a country house where people who were homeless can come and live and work and build a community. And there's two lads that are coming there to share their story about what it's like life on the streets.
Yeah,
because the huge range of, if you're a man, you're X amount more likely to be on the streets, and
95% of street homeless are men.
Yeah, and all of the issues that they would encounter on there. But again, it would be what. Do you want to come to an evening on a Thursday and listen to a couple of homeless folks? To be honest,
no.
I guarantee most of you would probably just walk past these guys in the street, and turned your way. So this is almost be quite interesting to confront it up close and personal.
Yeah.
Then you've also got the VR headset. You can kill some zombies. Then you can have a pint. Then you can do all this other stuff. So it is that nice balance, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think you're right. It's finding a thing that would be of interest, but you happen to know that the person delivering that thing that would be of interest is always looking for the opportunity to, what we used to call in my training was drop down to the universal.
Yeah. I also think there's, we started booking sort of bigger name speakers, but then actually realised that within our community, there's 1,000 stories in Naked City. So it's that guy that you've been chatting to that you hadn't realised something had happened to him. So I think it's probably time for a little musical interlude, and then something else I want to pick up on. I think so. Jim, do you want your song?
Yeah, go on then.
No.
It's Glastonbury this weekend, and
are you going, Jim?
No, God no.
Are you on the legend stage? Because you should be.
But
what if people need a phone number? Where are they going to get it from? Mr. 118 is not there. Seriously.
Exactly.
I mean, what?
There's literally no other way of getting a phone number nowadays,
is there? Community
is
service, mate.
Exactly. That'd be 4 days off. No, I'm not going this year because I'm middle-aged.
You've had enough of those pestering inquiries.
Yeah, exactly.
One time I get a break.
Just leave the phone off the hook for a few days. That's what you used to do, right? Beep, beep, beep. No, but last time I went, it was like the mid-2000s, and it was really, really muddy. It was horrible. And there was an act that I wanted to see called Bright Eyes. There's a bloke called Conor Burst. He does all the stuff, and then he has some people with him. He's massively talented. He's also a bit of a knobhead. And but as massively
I'd like to meet him,
as massively talented people mostly are. So we were all like, it was 3 days in, absolutely like you couldn't sit down anywhere because it was so muddy and horrible. It was tiring. He turned up on stage in a bright white suit, white shoes and everything, as if to go, screw you.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
Here in VIP.
Brilliant.
And it's just one of my favourite Glastonbury memories. So this is one of his songs, which is called This is the Best Day of My Life.
First day of my life. I swear I was born right in the doorway. I went out in the rain, suddenly everything changed. They're spreading blankets on the beach. Yours is the first face that I saw. I think I was blind before I met you. And I don't know where I am, I don't know where I've been, but I know where I want to go. And so I thought I'd let you know. Yeah, these things take forever, I especially am slow. But I realized that I need you, and I wondered if I could come home. Remember the time you drove all night just to meet me in the morning? And I thought it was strange, you said everything changed. You felt as if you just woke up. And you said, this is the first day of my life. I'm glad I didn't die before I met you. But now I don't care, I could go anywhere with you, and I'd probably be happy. So if you wanna be with me, if these things there's no telling, we just have to wait and see. But I'd rather be working for a paycheck than waiting to win the lottery. Besides, maybe this time it's different. I mean, I really think you like me.
Great song.
It's
Awesome.
a good song. He's hugely talented, but yeah, just one of those people who knows he's talented and likes to wind people up.
Yeah, I've got a certain affinity with him, I think.
Yeah.
Right. Quick one before we sort of wrap up.
Before you go, you got rid of that.
Before, no. Look, this is a bit where we talk, you listen. You don't actually. You do have to talk in a minute. He's done a brilliant article for us about.
He's always come here, get lost, isn't he? Do you know what I mean?
It is. It's
non-stop with this bloke.
Not at the moment. About the warning signs that people could check.
Yeah.
Ben, Dad's. So I've got a list of these warning signs that you've carefully sort of produced for us. I wonder, could you sort of put them in some sort of logical order? And the other thing is, like, these sort of articles, sometimes I find them useful. They also terrify me because it's like going onto Google to look at your medical things. I've got a headache. If I go onto Google, I'll probably end up having the same symptoms as brain cancer.
Yeah,
terrified myself.
Yeah.
So some of the warning signs, I think, could be, warning signs of, mental health struggles. They could also just be life and getting old.
Yeah.
So how do you find the balance?
Yeah.
So the warning signs are sleep disturbances, changes in mood, changes in appetite, changes in weight, potentially the increase in things like drugs and alcohol, and dysregulation, which is losing your temper, and withdrawal is another sign of potential struggle. So, but a lot of those I would just count as getting a bit older.
Yeah. Well, look, the psyche, the mind, and the body are the same thing.
Right.
So if one's disturbed, the other's disturbed. There's no distinction that you can make. Literally, you can't make a distinction. So you'll notice that quite a few of those signs and symptoms are physical things, like your sleep has gone to pot. There's a significant change in your appetite and eating patterns. Only one of them really refers to mood. And that's because when we're in distress, These stress hormones, it's the stress bit that's important. Stress hormones are released into our body for whatever reason. And you're right, the stress hormones could be released for a number of reasons, but these stress hormones have pretty prototypical responses in most furry mammals like humans. And the important thing is the significant shift from one state to another. And the other thing that we do clinically is we look at the severity of it and then the longevity. So, of course, certain things might change over time, but if there's a sudden shift, it's more likely to indicate that something has happened, that's a problem. But a long-term change in sleeping habits because you're getting older doesn't really necessarily signal a problem. It would be that short-term. Suddenly something has changed from one to the other. Oh, that's interesting. You notice it. The other thing is if it's very severe, you would notice it more. And the other thing is if it hangs around, if that sudden shift hangs around. So it might be, for example, you might have a sudden problem with sleeplessness that hangs around for a couple of days because something's happened, but then it goes away. You're not necessarily going to have significant warning signs about that unless you're totally manic and you start buying loads of stuff and you're running around with no clothes on as well and all that sort of stuff. Then you go, yeah, that might be a problem.
Or an average Wednesday for gin.
That's right, absolutely. So that it's those types of things, and it's like about using your common sense. So significant sudden shifts from one state to another, severity and longevity.
Yeah. So I think that's the key there. Looking at these lists that you get is significant rather than, oh, I've got changes in weight. Well, no, you've also just had 4 packs of biscuits for breakfast for the last 3 weeks, mate.
So weight gain is an interesting one, and weight loss is an interesting one. It's often a subject that's not talked about with guys enough, I think. The weight loss one. So suddenly the shifts in weight. Sudden shifts in weight, and I just want to make this point really strongly, can indicate very serious physical health problems. So if your weight suddenly drops over a short period of time, you really should not ignore that, guys, because that could be something very serious going on, and you need to go and get that checked out with your GP. Could be psychological, it might well be, but it also could be things like cancer, etc. I don't mean to. You're safe, Dan. To have brain cancer, you'd have to have a brain, so you're fine. All right. So don't need to worry about that one. There you go. Dr. Noel just diagnosed you, and I hope you feel reassured about that, mate. So the next time you're on Google, just keep asking yourself that question. Am I setting the bar too high for myself here?
This is why we got Noel on. This is what we all wanted.
When you say this is what we all wanted, I'm taking issue with the word all.
It's making good content, Dan. It doesn't matter. It's all about the content.
Yeah, I'm going to complain to the boss. This is workplace bullying.
If either of you worked, it would be a workplace, right? So
it is.
Again, it's that thing of I can't have brain cancer because I don't have a brain.
I don't have a brain. No,
I couldn't be workplace
bullying because I
don't work. So there you go. But it's that type of stuff. So weight gain is also another really key indicator that guys ignore, and often is explained away. And often what isn't talked about for guys is this thing about emotional eating, and emotional eating / binge eating disorder is more common with guys and putting on weight. And they're putting on weight for mainly 2 reasons. One, eating overly processed foods, which is deadly, and or drinking too much, again, which is deadly.
Yeah.
That should never be ignored. And it's not about getting on someone's case about it. But the reality is if you're eating a lot of highly processed foods, and by highly processed just means takeaways and stuff like that. The way to tell if it's highly processed and bad for you is just to look at the ingredients on it. And if they're not usually found in your kitchen, it's processed in a factory. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? If it's in your kitchen, it's probably all right. But if it isn't, if you have to sort of have a special license to order it from China, it's probably a bad idea to be eating it. Do you know what I mean? It's like serious. Yeah. But eating overly processed food and drinking too much are generally, they're part of, because our bodies are set up to desire fat, sugar, and salt, which goes back way, and those are comforting, particularly the sugar and the fats things are comforting things. And there's often a lot of guys processing quite significant amounts of depression, quite significant amounts of trauma. If you think about guys are not only most likely to be violent, but also most likely to be victims of violence. We tend to brutalize kids growing up. Boys don't cry. I mean, I don't know where that nonsense comes from. Boys do cry because boys are mammals, are animals that have these emotional states, and mammals and have these emotional states so we can bond in complex groups, and that's why we dominate the planet, because we can bond. I mean, it's like seriously weird statement, that one. It's like really the core of why we are so successful as a species is because we have emotions. That's literally why. This isn't a phone. This is complex social organization that comes through emotional states. That's all it is. And your emotions, all your emotions do. They're two sets of emotions. I'm on your soapbox. You better shut me up. So you've got one set of emotions that say go towards something, and one set of emotions that say go away from something.
Yeah. And
boys and blokes erroneously are taught to go away from the thing that they should be going towards. And the thing that we should all be going towards is better social support, always. And we are taught to go away from it and to isolate. So isolation for a social animal that depends upon social support for our very identity, our neurological development, our social, our development in the world, everything around the world is about, getting a marketing call. Everything in life is about being able to be part of groups, right? If you can't be part of groups, you can't do anything. And yet we get these signals saying isolate and move away. So if you see somebody isolating, that's a really serious sign for a social animal that literally depends upon social integration. Very serious.
Quite a lot of people are idiots.
Yeah.
I'm quite a social animal, but then also I have a really low tolerance.
Have you heard that saying, Jim? If you spot it, you've got it.
Yeah, he who dealt it smelt it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of just changing the tagline on the Dadless Soul website to "A lot of people are idiots."
Quote Dadless Soul.
Yeah. Quote.
Aspiring. Wanting to set up social support for guys.
Yeah.
Well-known.
People are idiots. A lot of people are dicks, right? Don't want to spend the little time I've got on this lovely planet with those type of people.
No,
so there is a line between withdrawing from that but not withdrawing to the point where, the only conversation you have is with your pot noodle bowl. It's...
Yes. And I hope you're not using that as some sort of weird metaphor.
My missus is pop noodle. No, she's hot.
Just stop it there.
Right. On that note,
raise the bar suddenly. All of a sudden, I think it's gone so low. No, the point is this, though. I think you're absolutely right. So there's an old saying, isn't it? Before you diagnose yourself as depressed, make sure you're not surrounded by idiots.
Yeah.
Right. So that is the point I'm making. Our social environment determines our health and well-being. It's not just helps it, it determines it.
Yeah.
And so if we're in a social environment which is so horrible that we have to leave, we need to find another social environment, which is why Dadless Soul and organizations like yours are vital, because a lot of guys are facing that. Like, they're going to work, right? And it's not uncommon for me to talk to blokes about it. They're going to work and the work environment is so horrific. They don't get on with anybody. They hate it. The last thing they ever think of doing when they leave there is to then go and hang out with another bunch of people, because they're so distressed by the experience. And it makes a lot of sense. We are programmed to avoid things that distress us. But it's really important to be rational about it and go, that distresses me. And the way I deal with that distress is to have something that balances it off. So I have nice social interaction that I like and want. And this is the other crucial thing about it, is that it's diverse. The social group, the support group is diverse, because it's a bit like this. If you go to the gym, neither of you two, obviously, but for those people who do go to the gym, when you use an exercise, look, sorry guys, I know the truth hurts, but right, come on, this is the only way we change, is when we come to accept the truth of ourselves. I'll charge you for that one later.
Oh,
So you go to the
don't
gym
do that, man.
and you're exercising just that arm, which would be great. That arm will be fantastic, right?
Yeah.
But the rest of your body won't get well. So that's not really healthy. It's the same with your personality and your mind. If you narrow the range of personalities that you hang out with, it's the psychological equivalent of just exercising one limb. It's vital for brain and therefore whole human health that you engage in really interesting, diverse social groups, because that's effectively going to the gym for your brain, right?
I think you're like the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah, there's things like that, and it's a really good sort of rule of thumb. It really is. But make sure that those 5 people are sort of diverse. So, like, we know it in areas of business, for example. In business, you say you don't have just one client with loads of money. You have a lot of clients, so that if that one client suddenly leaves, your business will still be fine. Same with farming. You had 5 fields. It's dumb to just have one crop in those fields. You want to rotate it. You want to have diversity. That's where the resilience to problems come. It's exactly the same for human beings in our groups. If we have diverse social groups, then that's how we are resilient to problems. Because something may come up, for example, that, and this is a very common problem, I come across it loads, when people get sort of tunnel vision about the type of group they want to hang out with. If you suddenly, if say your social network is unipolar, it's just one set of group with one set of views. Let me give an extreme example. You'd say Mormon mums, right? I'm not a Mormon mum.
That's again a niche
demographic, right?
That's real niche stuff. Don't know where that came from. I might need to
Your
therapist.
browser history.
That's right. No, it's actually yours. I was hacking in. So that's an idea. That's projection and deflection on Dan's part. You see, that's more money I'm charging you now, Dan. But let's say you come from a niche group like that, and then you suddenly develop and you realise something about yourself that is rejected by that group. You've got nobody to talk to about it. Whereas if you've got a diverse group of people with a diverse range of opinions and life experiences, you have somebody to go to. That's the point.
I think there's 2 key things there.
Yeah.
That a lot of the listeners will be, is that when you are potentially married or you're in a long-term relationship and you break up, right?
Yes,
the friendship groups that you
absolutely.
have sides,
Yeah.
and it
Spot on.
tends to be with the mums and the dads are outcasts. So suddenly you have all your social structure is gone. You've got to almost start again, and it's making sure you don't start again with those negative habits of always going down the pub or being the.
But you're also setting yourself up to fail in the second way, Dan. If I don't,
Go on.
excuse me for interrupting, because you're asking yourself to restart again without the help that your ex will be getting, because they've got a social group that's telling them it's okay, and you're isolated and alone. And so it's asking a lot of yourself. And I don't know whatever the second one was. Go on, you tell me, because I've got another one an example.
Well, no, it was, the second point was it's yes to the diverse nature of your social group. So it's a conversation I was having with my lad. So it's actually, if you, after parents' evening, if you hang around with the naughty kids and show off, that's all you're ever going to be.
That's right. That's right.
Actually, hang out with the smart kids.
Yeah.
Right, but have the ability to move and be comfortable in yourself that you can go to these different social groups or different things and still be comfortable. The sort of ideal is that you have the confidence to move wherever you need to, but ultimately those lads that are showing off and getting the withering looks continuously by the teacher, that is not going to serve you in the future.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of points I want to add on, if I may. So one would be this, just thinking about guys in general. We tend to overinvest in our work, as that's where we get the contact with other people. So we come home, but beyond work and home, those 2 poles, we don't have anything else. So if a guy loses a job, he loses a significant part of his identity and his support network, his purpose and meaning. And it's a classic problem with older guys that retire, for example.
Yeah.
And the death rates after retirement are quite significant. And it's just simply because of social isolation. In anthropological terms, it's called social death. And so you can be having social death because your field of vision about the people you hang out with is narrow. The other thing, the point for your son is to understand that we learn through our peers more than anywhere else. There's a whole theory of education called communities of practice. So if you want to become good at something, just literally hang out with people already good at it. So that's how things like AA work. If you want to be good at not drinking, just hang out at AA. You don't even have to believe anything they say, but you're just hanging around peers who are really good at not drinking. And if that's what you want to do, if you want to become a good racing driver, hang out with people, go and join that crew. And that's the literal truth. If you want to become good, we as human beings are more influenced by our peer network than anything else. To the point, and they've done these studies where they have a group of actors in a room and a person who isn't an actor has been invited along, they think, for a job interview, right? And it's just an example of how powerful is the cues we get from the people around us. And so this person comes in, they're a stranger, they don't know these other people are actors. And then they pump some smoke through the door and simulate a fire. And the person who isn't the actor that's come, they think, for the job interview is looking around. Then a fire alarm goes off, and again, they're looking around, but the actors have been told, don't respond as though there's any problem. Just sit there, carry on reading your book or chatting to each other, whatever it is you're doing. And invariably, that person who sees the smoke, hears the fire alarm, will just sit there as though nothing's wrong. Because they've just taken the cues from the social group. And again, it's that fundamental thing we are programmed to do as social animals, is to follow the herd, be part of the herd. Now, that can either destroy you or it can save your ass. And my suggestion would be get intelligent about it and use that fact, which is not going to change, to save your ass.
That's
silenced you.
which is unusual for this show. You might have just made us think, Noel.
Yeah.
Which is quite impressive for you.
Because you don't have a brain. Yeah, we can. But actually, talking about brains, let's have a quick musical interlude before we wrap up. Can I have Brain Story, please?
That was class.
Yeah.
Class.
Neatly segued, and I'll tell you why. For why.
In a second afterwards.
Yeah.
All right.
For
So that was Brain Story. A couple of weeks ago, I was up in London for a gig. Got there far too early. They happened to be the support band, and I'm really glad I got there really early to see the support band because they're great, aren't they?
Yeah, that sounded nice.
That's a real bonus to see
Crosby,
that.
Stills and Nash revisited, according to my missus.
Right.
High praise.
No, it is. Right, that is. We're coming up to the end of the show. No.
Yeah.
Oh, no. What? Hey, what? Me? You?
Is me fly undone?
Yeah. Again, that's a different sort of call. You have to subscribe for that sort of content.
Is that what the QR code is for?
There is not a cue code. No. Step away. Could you please tell the boys and girls how they can get hold of you and how they can, because outside of the gibberish, you do talk a lot of sense, right? If you
Praise indeed from
there
Mr.
is so
Gibberish winner,
to,
Mr. Gibberish Universe. There.
Yeah, to draw down on, and you have got a very. What I really like about it is the way that you demystify things, and remove those barriers. So I would say thank you again for spending your time with me and Jim.
My pleasure. So you can find my website here, mentalhealthworks.net. That's the website. But if you Google my name, Noel McDermott, rather narcissistically, I have 1,000,000,001 social media platforms in my name. And you can.
Is there one that's your preference?
If you're just looking for general sort of interesting stuff that we post, the social media stuff. Yeah, mentalhealthworks.net is the business site. So if you're actually interested in psychological services, that's where you go. Otherwise, just follow me on social media. It gives you the opportunity to insult me and abuse me and have lots of fun like that. You do
have your own podcast as well, don't you?
I do, on a Wednesday evening. You can check it out on my YouTube channel called Noel McDermott's The Wellbeing Show. And that goes out. Always looking for guests on that. So if anybody's listening and you think you've got something to say, contact us, and I'll send you off to the PR team and we'll get you hooked up. And I think, Dan, we're having you back on soon.
You're having Jim. I've just bottled it.
Have you?
Jim's like my stunt double.
I get to kick the shit out of Jim. Way!
Hang on. Is that your boss's decree? Is that what it is?
Can we just unpack why you have trouble getting guests? Might have something to do with that. But yes, I think we will be guests.
We give Dan the mic drop.
Another conversations with Nat and your wonderful PR team. Pleasure as always, Noel.
Genuinely, thank you.
Pleasure as always, and thank you for taking a potentially quite a potent and serious conversation and demystifying it and taking the there's God knows how many men's mental health podcasts and stuff these days, and it can be the same old tripe, for want of a better word. Actually, that's probably rude. People are trying to do things for the right reasons, but just maybe not in a way that appealed to me. So I would genuinely thank you for the common sense that you share in the way that you share it.
Great. That's real praise. I genuinely mean that. Thanks, Dan. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I've got so much respect for what you guys do, to be honest, deeply.
Is this a bit where it gets really awkward because we start being nice to each other?
We're going to start having feelings. The glitch in the AI there. That's brilliant. I've just got to say this. I mean, just in autism is not talked about enough, and I know this is random, but there's a great. If people Google on YouTube, why Rishi Sunak makes people feel autistic. There's a brilliant video about autism. It's absolute genius, and as the guy who runs that channel is autistic himself. It's the most informative channel on autism I've ever come across. Absolutely brilliant, but. It's really topical stuff. It's got nothing to do with politics and everything to do with autism. Don't know why I thought that. Don't know why I was looking at you and I thought of that. Rishi Sunak? Why do I was thinking of you and Rishi Sunak? I don't know.
Because we look similar.
Yeah.
One of my stunt doubles.
It's a real pleasure to be here. It really is. I love the work that you're doing. And There's a bunch of guys who are doing it now, and literally, I told you, it started 30 years ago, and trying to do men's work and father's work, and it was clear what was needed. But then when I stumbled, literally, it was you, I think, the first person I met. Why I didn't run screaming, I don't know, but there you go. Just got a strong stomach, I guess. But
see, again, what you give with one hand, you take away with the other.
I've learned from the master.
Narcissistic.
All hail Dan. All hail Dan. But it was like, literally, it was like, bam, this is what we needed all along. Men's organisations that are not horrible, nasty, having a go at people, but just having fun, and dealing with serious issues in a light-hearted way is really important, I think. So good stuff. We try. So that is us, I think, for another episode. Until then, you can like, you can subscribe, you can. Actually, how about this? Randomly, I'm in another town yesterday. I was flying for our block party. Hint, Jim, please show video of block party.
I've not got it loaded up, so no.
There was this cool-looking dad coming down there, and I gave him a flyer. And I said, I think you might like it. And he said, it's you. I said, what? He said, yeah, you're the man. I listened to your podcast. And my missus had to walk away because, she was laughing so much. But he was a nice lad. So big shout to Ben from Shoreham. But it shows that people do actually listen to this.
Yeah.
And you say, you get it. So that was really nice to have a complete stranger going, yeah, I listened to your show and really like it.
Great.
Good news.
In tip. Let's go to Block Party, buy some tickets for a Block Party. Block Party? Block Party. I need to stop talking now and have a cup of tea in a week. Right. Until next week. Next week? The week after. Is it?
The week after, yeah.
The week. I'm struggling. Right. No, say goodbye to the boys and girls.
Bye-bye.
Jim, say goodbye to the boys and girls.
Bye.